Shalom, shalom. I'm back again, guys, and I just wanted to clarify some of what I was saying in the past video about the destruction of Babylon and Iran versus Saudi Arabia. If you didn't watch that video, please do go back and watch it. But yes, guys. So, I mean, it's just becoming more clearer and clearer and clearer. So, on the last video, I was kind of confused because I was thinking, I'm sorry, one moment, y'all. Okay, sorry, y'all. Had to get the kids situated. My daughter is here today because they have another dentist appointment this week. So she's here from school, even though school did start by today. She is here because we're going to be going to the dentist in a little bit. But, and then, of course, my two youngest are home. But I want to go ahead and finish. So it says, so yeah, on the last video prior, I was kind of confused. Like, the Spirit was telling me that it was who, the seven kings were. And that's what we went over in the video. But because and I always say this, we have to let go of preconceived notions. This is why the scripture tells us to renew our mind, let the Spirit teach us, let go of man's doctrine. Because what man's doctrine says is, that the eighth king is the sixth king. So the sixth king comes back as the eighth king, right? The seven kings of the beast. But I've come to find out that that's not true at all. The eighth king, he's a completely different king, but he is of the eight. And we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about who the son of perdition is. Stay with me, y'all. So it say, and there are seven kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and goeth into perdition. Okay, so we talked about the 7 kings being the Saudi 7, the Saudi 7, right? The 7 kings of the house of Saud in Saudi Arabia. We talked about the 7 mountains being Saudi Arabia, which Saudi Arabia does have 7 mountains. But we also talked about, we talked about it being the 7 mountains. We talked about how the word mountain means hill, rock, place of worship, etc. And we read Jeremiah 49 and 50. And we talked about how they are Esau. Now, if you guys remember from the scripture, Esau, he married one of Ishmael's daughters. So Abraham's son, Ishmael, Esau married into their family. Okay, so this is why the Saudi Arabians are Esau. Okay, so listen, we talked about how, I'm trying to think of what all we talked about in the video. Okay, so anyway, so I couldn't figure it out. I mean, I knew it was them, but I couldn't figure out the pattern because I was under the notion that the 8th king was the 6th king that come back from a head wound, like the doctrine of man teach, like, so many people say, but that's not true at all. So we're going to talk about that today. So the 7, these are the 7, right? And it say 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. But when he come, he must continue a short space. The person who that is the king right now, Salmon. He's the 7th. He comes, he must continue for a short space. So he was just crowned king in January of 2015. right? Now, this is why we're going to talk about the son of perdition, because the son of perdition is exactly what the scripture tell us. He's a son. He's a son. Okay, and it blew my mind, because remember how I was telling y'all how the scripture is very specific, and how I found out that Iran was the leopard, and Russia was the bear, and that Turkey was the leopard. Well, remember I told you guys that I started looking up where those animals actually lived. And I found out that the leopard lived in Turkey, that lions live in Iran, and, bears live in Russia. So that's how I started to, find out. So when I'm telling y'all that the scripture, I'm sorry, it's a garbage truck out here. So when I'm telling y'all that the scripture is very specific, it's very specific. So the son of perdition is a son. He's the son of Salmon, and we actually been seeing him a lot. His name is Muhammad bin Salman, MBS they call him. And I mentioned it in a previous video. Now, I originally thought it was Emmanuel, but I did mention in a previous video that it's possible that it could be this guy, Muhammad bin Salman, when we talked about the Saudi 7, prior, like a year and a half ago when I made that video. And yes, now it's just becoming so clear to me. So the son of perdition is actually a son, right? And you guys know I looked up Salmon's name because I wanted to see if his name meant perdition. But it didn't actually mean perdition. It means safety. Okay, his name means safety. And what does the scripture tell us? For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Now we know that the travail as a woman with child was talked about Esau when we read Jeremiah 49 and Jeremiah 50 in the previous video about the desolation of Babylon. We know that it's talked about the travail a lot, and it said that Esau was as a woman, okay, that travaileth in pain. So King Salmon's name means safety, and we know as soon as they say peace and safety, might as well say as soon as they say Salmon, as soon as they crown him, sudden destruction cometh upon us as birth pains. Okay, so we are in the birth pains. Okay, so let me go back, because his name means safety and security. Okay, where did I see that at? Secure, meaning right here, y'all see that? Safe and secure, meaning safe or secure. Soon as they say peace and security, soon as they say peace and safety, sudden destruction come upon them. So we know that that's in reference to Esau, guys. So let's go back to him. MBS, Muhammad bin Salman al-Sad. So this is the house of Saad. So the 8th king is not the 6th king. The 8th king is Muhammad bin Salman. He's actually in line to be the 8th king. He's the prime minister, which is a crown that the king would wear. So they're letting us know that he is about to be king. It's obviously something going on with his father, Salman. I don't know if it's health issues. I don't know what may happen, assassination. We don't know. But what I'm telling y'all is to say that the 7th king will continue for a short space, okay? For a short space. Let me see something. Let's pull up the 7 kings of the house of Saad. Let's see if we can get like a time, some sort of timeline maybe. Let's go to image. Maybe they'll give us a graph. And this is it look like somebody, the night watchman, has already been posting and talking about it. So let's take a look at this. So you see, you can see the 7 kings reign, and right now we're in the 7th king's reign, which is Salmon. Okay. And then you see future king right here, reign 2020 to 2030. And what did I tell you guys about 2020? I said something big is going to happen in 2020. We did a video about the Great Conjunction. So they're basically saying that his reign is going to be from 2020. They got a question mark. So they think it's going to be from 2020. And that's interesting because 3 years ago, I did the video and I told y'all we had about 3.5 years to about 2020. And we did the video about the Great Conjunction, etc. So I'm telling you guys, it's prophecy is being fulfilled. So he is the 8th king. He is the son of Salmon. The scripture was very specific when it said son of. Now, what does perdition mean? I pulled that up. Perdition means destruction, loss, destruction, ruin, loss, perishing, eternal ruin. It say to cut off. Now, keep in mind, cut off. It means to cut off. Destruction, causing someone or something to be completely severed, cut off. So it doesn't mean themselves being cut off. It means to cut someone else off. And that's very interesting because we're going to get into some scripture. It say entirely from what could or should have been. And then it says perdition does not imply annihilation. See the meaning of the root verb, to cut off, but instead loss of well-being rather than being. So destruction and loss, it means loss of well-being. So why is that interesting? Because let's see what Jesus said in chapter 17 of John. He said, hold on guys. Yeah, so let's see what he had to say. So let's start at verse 9. I pray for them. I pray not for the world, but for them which thou hast given me, for they are thine. All mine are thine, and thine are mine, and I am glorified in them. And now I am no more in the world, but these are in the world. And I come to thee, Holy Father, keep through thine own name those whom thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are. We talked about knowing thyself and being one in prior videos. It says, so while I was with them in the world, I kept them in thy name. Those that thou gavest me I have kept, and none of them is lost, but the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. So we just read that the word perdition actually means loss of well-being. So he said none of them is lost except the son of perdition. So we know that the son of perdition is him. Let's also get to Daniel 9, because when I read the definition, I thought about this scripture here. So I say, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Now therefore, and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. And the street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off. So we've seen that the perdition means to cut someone or something off. So it says the Messiah shall be cut off. By who? The son of perdition. And it say, but not for himself. And the people of the prince, notice it says prince. I'm telling y'all, the scripture is so specific because Ben Salman, Muhammad bin Salman is what? The crown prince. He's the crown prince right now. And it say, the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city. What did perdition mean? Destruction, to destroy. In the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with the flood. Now understand that the flood in the scriptures is representative of false doctrine, etc. So look at this, Ephesians 14:14. Then we will no longer be little children, tossed by the waves and blown around by every wind of teaching, by every human cunning with cleverness and the techniques of deceit. So by every wind of teaching, or every wind of, doctrine, or every waves, we know wind and controls the motion of the water, okay? So say the waves and blown around by every wind of doctrine or teaching. So it say, let him make his request in faith, doubting nothing. For he who has doubt in his heart is like the waves of the sea, which are troubled by the driving of the wind. So it say, then there shall be a flood. And the end thereof shall be with the flood. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. This is the abomination that maketh desolate. And he shall confirm the covenant with many. Now, when we get to verse 27, this is what a lot of people don't understand. They think verse 27 is still referring to the prince of the people that shall come, but it's not. You have to read in context. So it say, and after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. So the Messiah is the subject of what we're talking about here. So it's saying, after 62 weeks shall the Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. Now pretend and all of the stuff after wasn't right there, and just go straight to verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. We know that the week is the 7 days of creation. And in the midst of the week, half of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice of the oblation to cease. What did the Messiah do when he came? He ended sacrifice. He became our last sacrifice. What do Hebrews say? He no longer accepts the sacrifice of bullocks and sheep and goats, etc. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate. So this is the abomination of desolation. So Esau, he's an abomination. And the Messiah will come and make him desolate, okay? And for the overspreading of abominations, because Esau just been abominating. He just over there making abominations, okay? He shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation. Now, if you guys know what a consummation is, when a man and a woman gets married, previously, back in antiquity, they weren't necessarily married until they did the consummation, okay? Until they had sex, they did the consummation. So he's talking about the feast of the wedding feast, okay? So he said he shall make it desolate even until the wedding feast, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Okay, so verse 27 continues to talk about the Messiah. There's that little interjection about the prince that shall come right there in verse 26, but you have to read it in the context. So we can see that all of this is in reference to the son of perdition coming to cut the Messiah off, etc., etc. Okay, so we talked about Saudi Arabia being the 7 mountains and the 7 kings, and here is the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. We talked about the word mountain means rock, and it says that Esau hides in the cleft of the rocks. In Revelations, it say that they will try to hide in the mountains and in the rocks, and say, fall on us, for the wrath of, what is it, Revelation 6. Let's just get to that right quick. I think it's Revelation 6. Okay, so let's see. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty man, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne. That's Esau. And from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Okay. Now, when I first start realizing that, everybody's talk about America and America and America. Nobody's talking about what's going on in the Middle East. Everybody's talking about America is Babylon. Nobody really talk about what's going on right now in the so-called Middle East and how the prophecy is happening over there. Don't the scriptures say, look to the east? So, I just find it funny that, everybody's missing the prophecy happening right in front of their faces. And then, we got our Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters, they so focused on Esau being a white man that they can't see nothing else. They can't see nothing else. And, it's sad. Our people are killed for a lack of knowledge. And it's our own fault. So but I noticed, when it started talking about the pale horses, that the colors were red, white, black, and pale, which is like a green, which is the colors of all the Islamic nations over there. I mean, it's so, the scripture is specific. It's not just going on a whim, okay? He didn't just say a lion because, or a leopard because, or a bear because. He said it because it's going to give you direct distinction and clue to who the people are that he's talking about. So Esau dwelleth in the clefts of the rocks, and they say, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne. Now let's just get to Jeremiah 49, because I just want to read this again, where he say, I have uncovered thy hidden places, thy secret places. What did they say? Hide us from the rocks, from the Lord. Okay, let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm sorry, y'all. See, look, here we go. Verse 13. Thy terribleness have deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, that holdest the height of the hill. Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Lord. Okay, but he say, I have uncovered, okay, verse 10. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. We talked about what it means when it's saying he is not. When it talked about the beast, and it say, and he was, and he is not, and he is not. It's talking about Esau. So I say, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbor, and he is not. So let's go back to Revelation 6 right quick. I say, and the kings of the earth, and the great man, and the rich man, and the chief captains, and the mighty man, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. Those who hide themselves in the rocks of the mountains, that's Esau. And he said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is come. Who shall be able to stand? So I hope y'all see what I'm saying. I mean, I could keep going. Sorry, I'm going to let this truck go by. I mean, we could really keep going, but I just wanted to make this quick because we did read a lot about it on the video, the desolation of Babylon. So yes, please go back and watch that video. But yeah, keep your eyes open. Stay awake, okay? Be awake. When the Messiah said watch, he meant stay awake, lest the thief come and steal and kill and destroy. Okay, stay awake. Watch means stay awake. And what did Paul say? Awake to righteousness and sin not. And when I come and I find you doing what? Keeping the commandments, not sinning. All right, y'all. Shalom, family. Till we meet again.